Sup everyone, my name is Chris Lou, and today we are not going to be doing a Let's Play video. Today I'm going to be doing something I haven't done in a while and doing it a little bit differently. I haven't posted any videos of me giving updates on my life, where things are, what I'm doing, how things are going, because of the fact that I have fallen off the map at least 2 times. And I'm going to be going into reasons as to why that has occurred, and giving you updates onto the current situation and why you might see some emotion bleed through in some videos in the coming days. And if there is an interruption to my videos, you'll understand why. So, let's go back to the first time something happened. First time something happened, I fell off the map for at least a few days. That was at least 4 years ago, I want to say. And that situation involved a stint in a mental hospital, mental ward in Raleigh, actually Duke Regional Medical Center in North Carolina. I was there for 4 days. Some people already know that, and the reason behind that is because I was in a relationship and I was on improper medication. I was on improper medication, and let's just say that my reaction was amplified by said medication, and the person who was involved in that relationship on the other end, she made the situation worse because she's manipulative and she wanted to use me for specific ends, and she didn't care what happened to me. So I dropped off the map for a few days, and I came back with a vengeance and was recording, making videos, all that good jazz. I was doing fairly well. And then about a year or so later, within that year, I was in another relationship, and this individual used up a lot of my time. Thus, I was not able to produce videos like I wanted to. And I was also in the middle of a game design project that took up a lot of my time. A lot of the extra time that I did have, I put towards making this game as little as I could, and also towards this relationship. It took out a lot of my time that I really didn't want to happen, but it did. That relationship ended, and then I made a couple videos for a little bit, and then whenever I got back into game design after taking a small hiatus from it, I was on the grind of making those few games that I could, and that soaked up so much of my time, and after that, I was off the wagon for a good number of months. And then after that, I was able to get back onto the wagon and make videos every now and then. Safe to say after that, similar situation, I started working on my projects again, and that soaked up a lot of my time. And it was only recently that I got back on that wagon again, making videos, and I'm making them at a higher, more frequent pace. Before this, however, I started making a D&D YouTube channel, which I've stopped for a little while, mainly to get my filming situation a little bit better off. And I've done very well with that, and I continue to have topics and such come up that people would like for me to discuss. So I need to get back onto that one as well. Link to that's going to be in the description as well if you are a D&D person and you would like that kind of video. But that was several months, almost a year since I had made my last video, and between then and whenever I made my most recent video as well of a horror game, I believe it was. I think it was Colorless Nightmare. And then I've just been making videos all the time. That does not take up a whole lot of my time anymore, because I'm able to bust out 2, 3, 4 recordings a day sometimes. So I always have a backlog. In fact, I've got about 4 videos on backlog that I would like to finish. But there is something that you might notice in some of my more recent retro weekend playthroughs, is I get very angry very easily, and that normally does not occur. Normally when I'm playing a video game and I get angry, it doesn't bleed through as much as you might think. As a matter of fact, some of the games I've played over the years, usually the competitive ones are the ones where my emotion can bleed through, and it honestly doesn't bleed through much. The most I have done whenever I get angry at a video game is I will breathe in through my nose and sigh outward. And sometimes I'll just grab my mouse a little tightly, and that'll be the end of that. So that is something that has occurred. However, recently, in regards to current circumstances, I get a little more angry and a little more venomous than I normally would want to be. And I think you guys deserve to know why that is. If you've been wondering. If not, some people find it funny, but I feel as though I should talk about it now. Sorry, my hair is a little flat. I literally just got out of the shower. Let me catch you up to speed on what has happened during my hiatus. During the last time I made a video, I was working hard on one of my projects, and I'll go ahead and say something that I didn't really want to say too much, because I didn't really like the situation, but it was the way it was. Before a couple of months ago, I had been staying with my parents for about 5 years, 4 to 5 years. I think it was 4.5. I was in a bad relationship before then, and my folks were getting a place of their own, and they were moving out of one place and into another down on Oak Island, and they needed help with the place. They needed help to be able to afford it, and they also reached out their hand to get me out of a rotten relationship, and I did. I seem to have a very bad history with relationships. And I got out of that relationship, and I moved in with them, and I was, somewhat happy, and I was involved with someone that actually was the person I got out of the relationship with, and it was pretty bad. I will not say that I made the best choice there, and then I found out that she had been cheating on me, and that's what inspired me to even do YouTube to start with, to even do Chrisaloo. It's because I wanted to beat her at her own game and do something she wanted to do. So this entire channel started out of vengeance. It started out of anger. And eventually it became something I enjoyed doing and wanted to do. And that's what started it. You could kind of see, if you watch my videos, my older videos going to the more recent ones, even just like a couple months after the first couple, you could see my emotions start to change really rapidly. I went from, you could see that I was uncomfortable. I didn't have very good camera face. I wasn't exactly invested emotionally in the videos. And then at some point you can see where I start enjoying myself too much. I start having too much fun. I stopped taking things so seriously, and I started moving forward. And actually the reason for that is because I saw another YouTuber and I talked to him, and he kind of gave me the advice to just have fun with what you're doing. So at that point it went from no longer being to get back at somebody and to do something they wanted to do and do it better, to being something I enjoyed doing. And from then it got to be a more positive experience for me. So, and I met up with Captain Joe and Photo Negative Mickey and a couple other YouTubers, Naily Gaming. We started doing videos and stuff left and right, and I would love to get back into doing that. I loved grouping up with people all the time. I love doing it, and I miss doing that. But that's whenever I was living with my folks, and my stepmother, bless her heart, has been with me every step of the way in helping me do this. In fact, she was the one that helped me get my first recording equipment, get me a webcam, get me a good set of headphones that I actually had for years, until recently, whenever I got these nice little headphones, $60 by the way, and they're very nice, but they're not the ones I started with. I think I still have the ones I started with somewhere in a box somewhere. But yeah, I lived with them for a good number of years. And then, of course, I just kind of mentioned all the hiatuses that I had to take, the time away, and that probably has hindered me as a content creator for in terms of numbers and views and subscribers and such. And I don't deny that was my fault. However, the recent situation is something that I do think that I should talk about, because it will explain the kind of fervor and zealotry I have right now. Let's just start this off at a year ago. A year ago, whenever I started working on Legends of Commenrealm after a couple of game jams, and I wanted to work on a project that was a certain way, and that's when I started Legends of Commenrealm. I met somebody online, and we got into a relationship fairly quickly, which I don't advise doing. it got pretty, unfortunately, pretty serious pretty quickly, and it also crashed just as quickly and just as harshly. She had, for those of you who do not know, I have issues with my teeth sometimes. It's a result of a genetic trait, and it is also because of my asthma medication and my psychiatry medication. They dry my mouth out really quickly, and they can make your teeth bad. It's not to say that my teeth are all fucked up, but it is to say that I still have two wisdom teeth that are cracked and broken, and they need to be removed, and they've damaged some of the molars around them. That's not like extensive, crazy... I have cats. It's not extensive and crazy damage, but it is noticeable, and it can make my breath have a bit of a stink sometimes. That is one side effect of my medication and also of my psychiatric status. And that... It was apparently my teeth and my breath that made this particular individual break up with me, despite her not having the, best pearly whites in the world. And, also, I was sick near the end of the relationship, really bad. This was a little bit before COVID. As a matter of fact, it was about a year ago now, actually about a year and a month ago. I got really, really sick. I think it was the flu. My throat was almost completely swollen up. I was sweating. I had running a fever for days. And apparently, well, that made me stink because of the sweat and because I just didn't feel good. And apparently that was enough to drive this person away. A month later, after all of this, it was around, I think it was around Thanksgiving. Actually, it was 2 months. It was around Thanksgiving, and I wanted to check up on her, see if she was okay, because at the time I was still a nice person, and I was still, I'm still a nice person, but I was still very concerned about her well-being. Come to find out, she doesn't have food. She can't get in touch with anyone. Her fridge, in a place that I helped her get, she didn't have food or anything, so I went out of my way using money that was not mine. Well, technically it wasn't mine, but it was not mine. It was supposed to be used for rent and bills, and I went out of my way to go get her food, stock up her fridge, and all the good jazz. And then after that, I took her to sushi, did all the goods for her, and then left. And she never, well, not to say she never did, but she didn't speak to me for another month, despite my efforts to try to talk to her. A month after that, around Christmas time, I check up on her again, and come to find out her car, she was on her way to Raleigh to go visit family, and her tire busted. And by busted, I don't mean it just sprung a hole. No, I mean like around the entire tire is nothing, like on either side of the hubcap is nothing but feathered and destroyed tire. It was bad. There was no fixing it, not at all. Like, the tire was essentially gone. So I drove up to Raleigh after work, and from where I work all the way up to Raleigh is a 3-hour drive. I had already worked a full shift. I was sweaty, I was disgusting, and I had a bad day. I drove 3 hours up to Raleigh, took her to go get her food, took her to go try to pop her tire off of her rim. That didn't work, so we put the tire back on so we can give the car something to sit on, and then I brought her back to my home in Oak Island, where she could stay and get a hot meal, which was, again, 3 hours away, and I had to work the next day at 1:30. I then, at 9 in the morning, I get up, only going off of 5 hours of sleep, mind you, and I drive her all the way up to Benson to go get her car's tire, leave it on a jack, go to somewhere. We went to a Walmart, the only Walmart that I've ever seen that doesn't have a tire center, and then we found out that there's no tire center, of course, and we went to a tire place down the road from there and got her tire fixed, slapped it back on her car, put the air in it, all the goodness, and then I gave her a hug, told her if she needed me, she could call me, she can get a hold of me. And then she went, I got radio silence again for months. And that was enraging to an immense degree. I had been used, I served a purpose, and then once my purpose was over, I was tossed aside. Well, I get into another relationship, that relationship ends, it actually wasn't as bad as at the time I made it out to be. It's just, the girl I was with at the time was a very decent person. I never had any problems with her. We never had any problems. It just fell apart, and I hold nothing against her now. I then think I had an epiphany about something when in truth I had to come to a realization that I had to put down some emotions that I thought were there. I got a hold of this person that I'd gone and fixed her tire. And I got a hold of her, and then we got to talking, and then we started the relationship again. What I'm about to say that I've done, I do not recommend anybody doing under any circumstances. Only a month had gone by since we had gotten together. And we had gotten this, after my parents helping us, financially with this, we had gotten this apartment that I'm currently sitting in. This apartment runs us about $1,019 a month, and I, as of right now, nothing. I live in the office. Right now, with the room I'm in is my office, and it is now my bedroom, and I'm currently sleeping on couch cushions as I'm awaiting a mattress. I'm not sleeping on the couch in the living room, so I took the couch cushions. I'm now sleeping over there on the floor, waiting to get my bed this Thursday, and there's a reason for that. This person and I were in a decent relationship, and then a couple months ago I noticed something was wrong. Something was off. The emotion, whatever, was gone. After we'd already moved in, signed the lease, all that good jazz. A month ago I come to find out she's been cheating on me for 2 months with her ex. She has been telling me she's going to work early, going to be home late, staying with friends from work overnight. She's been with this other guy. And at this point, I was past the point of hurt because I knew something was up. But that does not mean that there was not emotion there. I'm still, at this point, angry beyond belief. It's hard for me to contain it sometimes. And that's why you see it bleed through in some videos. It's really hard for me to hold it in. I offered her the opportunity to move past this and forget everything of the past and start fresh, and she turned me down. Whenever I saw the texts and the messages, I noticed that the only thing that she was afraid of was becoming homeless. She didn't care how it affected me. She didn't mention anything about it hurting me. She didn't care. And that's evident in the text and the messages. So, me being more generous than me being more generous than she deserves, I decided to let her stay here for however long the lease is. And I come to find out after seeing one thing that I have a habit of doing is if I'm feeling an emotion, whether it's directed at anything current or not, I will, on my personal Facebook account, I will post pictures, some that I make, some that I share, some pictures that I find. It's either if I'm going through something or if I see that I can relate or understand said picture. That's even if I'm happy and joyful and whatever, sometimes I'll post some depressing stuff on occasion just because I understand it and I can kind of relate to it. And that's what I've been doing. It's one of the ways I kind of release some negativity. That way I'm not releasing it in any one person's direction, mainly because I understand it, and I will post a picture or something because I understand that emotion. Sometimes it's what I'm going through at the moment, other times it's not. And the reason I bring that up is because today, the day that I'm recording this, my ex, who is currently my roommate, but I am going through the proper channels to rectify that, is her parents went on my Facebook, and her grandmother went on my Facebook, and in their infinite wisdom decided to take any relevance to these pictures and posts as being about her when they weren't. But honestly, if the shoe fits, I had posted some pictures about loyalty and being cheated on. I've posted stuff like that and copied and shared posts like that before whenever I'm in a happy relationship or if I'm not in a relationship at all. Mainly because, again, I understand them. I've been there. I'm currently there. So I understand those things. She then takes it the wrong way rather than talking to me about it. Because, the reason she cheated on me to start with is because, again, my teeth, my breath, and the fact that she thinks I lacked confidence and intimacy was not a thing. And that's another I'm actually not going to go into that because that is a personal thing. She never brought any of these things to my attention and never discussed them, so these problems never got solved, resolved, what have you. They were allowed to fester and grow until it got to the point of no return and she ran into the arms of somebody else, which I'll never forgive her for. And rather than talk to me, that she decided to, instead of using her brain, which she, I guess, has not a habit of using right now, decided to think that those were about her when they weren't. Post something saying that, and it was directed at me, and I know it was directed at me because I confronted her about it, and she admitted it was directed about me. It was directed to me. About how I need to, if I'm feeling some sort of way, I need to reach out and talk to somebody rather than post passive-aggressive on Facebook. Let me be clear. If I have a problem with someone, if I have a problem with you, with anybody you know, with somebody I know and you don't, whatever, I will not hesitate to say something. I'm at the point where I don't care. I've been like this for years. I don't care what a certain person thinks. I don't care how it will affect them. If I have a problem with them, I will say it. If something is bothering me about them, I will bring it up and have no compassion or empathy towards them, however it makes them feel, because I am not going to sugarcoat my shit anymore. So, assuming she thought she knew me as well as I thought she did, she decided to forego all reason and do that. I confronted her about it, said we need to talk, and I honestly will admit I lost my shit. I lost control verbally. I never hit women, but I lost verbal control via text. And I had to show her the places where I got these quotes and made these pictures. Like, there's quotes from God of War in one of these pictures I used because I like the way it sounds. There's a quote from The Dark Knight where Harvey Dent has gone full Two-Face that, again, I can relate to and I can understand, so I made a picture about it. And there's even a Majora's Mask picture that is referenced in the game, that something says along the lines of, it says, you're a bad guy and bad guys just run, okay? And that's just a thing. And the whole loyalty and cheating thing, even though it can be seen as relevant, that's not what it was about. I am beyond the phase of being hurt as a result of this whole debacle. I'm in the era of pure rage. And I am trying to direct that anger into something productive, being videos and game making. So if you see in any of my videos that bleeding through, that is why. If I get angry, that is why. If I overreact to certain things, that is why. So right now, I will say that I'm not going through a lot positive. It's more negative, but I have already made a means to rectify the situation. I will say that I've come to the conclusion that things will never be fair, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't try. So I figured everybody kind of deserved an explanation as to why I was gone for a while and why now I'm suddenly back. And also people, I've not made any videos referencing my life recently, referencing life changes, and that is why. Because I haven't thought to, because I didn't really want to talk about it, but now I do. So I'm going through a lot in my life currently that has put me in a very strange situation, and it is bleeding through. So if anything anybody can take from this, take from my situation, take from what I'm going through, let me tell you this. Nobody can prepare you for the darkness that they can do. There is no preparation for betrayal, for lies, for being deceived. There is no way you can fully prep for somebody to turn their back on you and betray you. But I will say, don't be afraid to not be the bigger man in the situation. Because sometimes people don't deserve that. They don't deserve your calm and cool demeanor. You can't suppress your emotion. You can't suppress how you feel. You can't deny that you're angry, that you're hurt, that you're sad. You can't deny that in yourself. Because it's going to bleed through whether you want it to or not. So in short, that is why I had those are why I've had my hiatuses, and this is why I am back. Because I need something to pull my mind away from things. And I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing. Trust is a very delicate thing. Trust is something that once you lose, it's gone forever. Because even if the person says, okay, I'll trust you again, they never really fully will. Sorry, that hair in my mouth. So before you lie, before you cheat, before you go behind somebody's back and do something to hurt them, whether you intended to or not, know that that person that you're betraying is a flesh and blood human being with emotions, with wants, desires, opinions, and more importantly, with a heart. And know that some people are just one bad day away from snapping and never being the same person ever again. Because that's where some of us are. So before you go out and do these things for a selfish manner, think about what you're doing first. Think about who you're hurting and why. Especially if that person would never do anything to hurt you. Sorry this turned into something depressing or uneventful. Like there's no game, there's no let's plays, there's no the link to this game is going to be in the description or whatever. There's none of that. This is just something that's been sitting on my chest that I feel if I don't say, then I'm going to lose my mind. As if we're not already there. But yeah. Think about who you're hurting before you do anything. Because when that person fights back, you will have deserved it. You will have earned it. And once you lose the trust of somebody who would have moved mountains for you and would have bent over backwards and has bent over backwards for you, when you lose the trust of that person, you'll never find it in anyone else ever again. And because of you, that person will never be the same. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for letting me ramble on. Hopefully everybody can learn from my mistake. Don't repeat that. Until next time. I'll see you guys later.